Okay, so this is the first half of Season 4 of Steven Universe. We finally had a little bit of free time, and we just marathoned through them.
That was I gotta lie, that was a bit of a grind.
Yeah, Cliff Note version, this was kind of dull until we got...
Like, the second to last one we saw, I'm like,
we're just like, whoa!
Shit happened!
Yeah, everything else I felt like we kind of saw. You know, like, not too much variety.
I'm not gonna lie, it's the first time in a while where I'm like, I'm kind of fighting to stay awake through some of these episodes.
Yeah, like there's definitely been episodes where it's like, okay, that's kind of a filler, that's kind of a filler, but then they get to something, even their fillers were kind of interesting and different. This just kind of seemed like, well, yeah, we saw a variation of this already.
Got to see Onion's friends.
I hate Onion and everything associated with him.
You
know, and it's like, it's not even like he's a terrible character or anything, but just something about him I don't like.
He insists upon himself. I don't,
use that for everything.
It just sounds so wonderfully pretentious. I don't, not a fan.
Yeah, I can't say what it is, because it's not like, oh, he's so annoying, or he's so terrible, or just something about him really
I think it's his friends, he seems kind of creepy, and now that we've seen his friends, I'm like, they're kind of psychotic. But I guess the idea, apparently, the moral of that, I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the moral of that just seemed to be, well, it's okay if you're weird. Yeah, but I'm like, they were kind of crazy, like, maybe unhinged weird. I'm not sure it's good to be like, hey, that's cool. You want to kill living things? Like, that's
I mean, granted, it's a bug. We've all killed bugs and stuff, but still.
That was a good size bug. A beetle minding its own business in the forest. I'm like, geez, I'm not that bored.
Yeah, after you race it. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, let's start with the first one, which actually I really like this one. Kindergarten Kid. This was the...
Gee, I wonder why you liked it.
Yeah, I love anything Roadrunner, Coyote related.
It is funny, because right about the point, it was like 1 minute in, that we're just like... Man, this just kind of reminds me of like Roadrunner, Coyote cartoon. Then like a scene or two later, it's like, oh, actually it is.
That's exactly what it is.
A straight up homage.
It's Peridot and Steven trying to get one of the, whatever that was, the kind of the stones that were, or the gems that were grown there in the kindergarten. And... It's just, not only is it a good homage, but it's good slapstick.
Yeah.
I feel like these were kind of like, it's still boulders falling and stuff, but it was still like the timing on them was so fast and
my
good.
two favorite forms of comedy are the ones that always get shit on, and that's puns and slapstick.
Yeah.
And honestly, they're both the highest forms of comedy, and... fuck the rest of y'all. Like
I like all comedy fine.
Alfred Hitchcock thought puns were the highest.
No. I like all comedy fine. I do too, I like those two the most.
But to me, the funny thing about either is to execute them properly. Like everything, it's such a low form of comedy. Yeah, you know what? But to execute it properly, you really, really need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen, doing the NCs, we have seen so much shitty slapstick.
Yeah.
But when you get, like, perfect
and the movies
slapstick,
we watched did bad, too. No, okay.
You get, like, a good, Tom and Jerry episode, good Roadrunner Coyote.
Like Willy Wonka, that's a great one. Yeah.
Shut up.
Actually, the slapstick was okay in that when they did it.
Right. Blake Edwards, The Great Race.
Yeah.
The early Sam Raimi films.
Yeah, and they got this nice and good, and it
there's
was
just
solid
something
and
amazing about it. And this... even I'd say the middle parts of Rat Race, I love. Beginning and ending of that movie suck, but the middle parts of that are amazing. This nailed it. Like, there was one moment in particular where Peridot falls and then gets up and just says, just whack, and I was like, perfectly cut.
It's how much pain can you get out of this with, combined with good timing, it just mixes perfectly. It's you're gonna say something, well, you're already down, you're like, and then something hits you and just makes it even worse. It's like the finishing touch, and I thought that was great. I thought that was very funny.
But apart from that, it just was... Like, I like the example of just like, well, put yourself in its shoes. Like, how does it feel to be pelted with these marshmallows? I'd say delicious, but it's like, it's annoying. It's like, yeah, well, that's what it's like for this thing, like endless suffering. I'm like, that's a pretty good example. That was an insane amount of marshmallows he had in that bag.
Yeah, it seemed to be a never-ending bag. But yeah,
like that's it. Like
there wasn't
much,
much, like character or moral or anything. But it's like I didn't need it. I'm fine with the slapstick and the coyote homage. They even got the backgrounds that look kind of like it, but still in their style. So I like that. Know Your Fusion. This is where there's an interview with Smokey Quartz from the Garnet and Pearl fusion.
This one just bored me.
I just didn't get it. I mean, I guess, okay, I mean, I know it's like, the physical strengths and everything like that. That's good, and that can be part of your identity.
There's a great moral.
Like,
I got it, but it was like, took way too long to get to the point, which is, they were turning it into about themselves, and really it should have been about them. And then in the end, Stefani, or that, I still would rather call them
Smoky Quartz, thank you.
But
No.
That was because it's Amethyst. Okay,
yeah.
so Smoky Quartz. Sorry, I was confusing the later one we saw. That's what happens when we watch 12 in a row. Smoky Quartz saves the day, and then they get to explain their powers at the end. Oh, it's really bad. So I got that. That's fine. It took. And I like that a lot. It took forever to get there.
Yeah, it was just like sort of a weird setup.
Yeah.
Which I'm usually down for weird setups, but that just wasn't grabbing me.
And then the weird games like they had to do. I really missed the yodeler from The Price is Right. I went like, yodel.
So if they had more like guest stars coming out, or maybe there's like a band instructor and there's hints of who's out there and who the audience is and stuff. Like I would have liked to have actually seen them or something, but... Yeah, I don't know. It felt almost more like a David Lynch dream than like.
That's a good way of putting it.
So I mean, I don't know. It didn't grab me. I can't think of anything.
It's like great moral. That was one where I'm just like, I like the idea. It just that needed to be like 5 minutes, not 15 or whatever.
Yeah, or 10. All right, next one's Buddy's book. This is where they find a book. By William Dewey's first mate, Buddy. And this is a guy who went over and sort of discovered all these various
Not
gem
as funny as the pirate log from The Secret of Monkey Island, but still pretty amusing.
Still pretty amusing.
So the best jokes in a computer game ever.
But it... I mean, this was cute. This was fun. Honestly, none of these episodes are bad, by the way. I should emphasize. I can't think of any bad episodes.
I didn't like the onion one. I did like... There's something adorable about Connie. I gotta start studying up for the 7th grade, even though it's summer. I'm just like, good lord.
I think that's kind of the thing. Like, oh, dude,
I was just sitting next to it. I just shouted, nerd! Yeah. But I do like that when they discover that book, she's just like, fuck homework! Yeah. Like, just toss the books aside. That was a pretty good one. Again,
it's cute, and I will say this: I really like the moral in that because there's a lot of people that want to do blank first. They want to discover first. I like the idea. No, it's all discover, but you can show it in a new way that it's like it's discovering it in a way that no one's ever seen. I feel like that's what a lot of art does, and even criticism and stuff like that. So I like that idea. I thought that was
most
a cool
stories have
idea.
been told already, so it's about execution.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt that's kind of what that was about.
And plus, it's a plot point that came in later.
Yeah.
So like it comes back.
All right, we got Mindful Education. This is the one where Connie kicks some ass and feels really bad about it, and they have to find a way to come to grips with their pain when they fuse. Stephen and Connie. Stefani. This was where you're going to make your joke. What name did you prefer?
Coven.
Yeah.
Over Stefani. I'm just like, it's Connie and Steven. It should be Coven.
Clearly, it just rolls better and sounds better, yes.
Come on, covens are badass. Like a group of witches that'll fucking hex your shit.
Again, this was fine. It's good.
Honestly, out of all the early episodes, I like the first one. But honestly, this is the first one where I'm like, all right, this is pretty good. Like it, I liked this one because I felt like we were learning about their characters and what was driving them nuts, and except for you're just like, really, that was it.
Well, no, because she said, okay, no, it was funny because I was saying like, she says I beat up a kid, and I'm thinking like beat up, like something like that.
she just fucking went to town.
Well, because I didn't know, and then when they showed
like
it,
Goodfellas style with the back of the gun. Steven, again, you're dead.
Go get your fucking shoe
you shine box!
But pretty much what it was is that he just sort of like disturbed her accidentally, and she flips him over, and it goes.
But
"Oh,
you were
no,"
just
and
like,
walks
that's
away.
it, and I'm just like, have you ever been flipped?
No,
like,
that's not it. No, I was saying.
I've been flipped on a mat once, and that's still, I was just like, ah.
No. I was
Like,
saying that
to
what
get
I
flipped
wanted
on a hard
No.
school floor?
No, that's fine.
On your back?
No, because I was saying that, she should have said, I flipped a kid, but then that sounds like I flipped a kid, and that doesn't sound right either, so yeah, maybe that's kind of the only
Yeah, that's because you was like, yeah, you wanted to say, I flipped a kid. I was just like, that would have been the weirdest line of dialogue. Connie, what's wrong? I flipped a kid.
So, I don't know, when I hear beat up, I mean, hurt a kid.
I know, with that flip, though, I just want to see, like, crack, and then just blood starts to spill out.
Well, he broke his arm. But no,
yeah,
it was nice too. I sort of like the meditation aspect of it too. I feel like kids that have like a lot of like, whatever, build up anger or stress and they don't know what to do. Like that's a good episode for them.
And it went all spirited away at the end.
Yeah, with them falling. I mean, it has to be a Spirited Away.
We were just humming the Spirited Away music the whole way down.
Yeah.
I knew you were good. Yeah, so I don't know. I like that one. That one, like...
Future Boy Voltron.
Oh, God. What? Oh, speaking of Miyazaki...
I'd love to know this connection.
What a waste of a great anime reference.
Yeah, that's right. I think they just... No, because they had a Kiki one. Kiki's Pizza Delivery Service. I think it was more just
it wasn't
hey,
that. I'm just saying that I didn't even like... I guess this episode's alright. But... No, you know what? No, I don't like this episode.
I thought it was
kind of bored me.
I'll say this.
But it's a Future Boy, like Future Boy Conan is an old school, like pre-Ghibli show that Miyazaki was involved in. And you should look it up. It's actually really awesome if you can find a copy anywhere. But
it doesn't have any connection.
Yeah,
but neither did the Kiki episode.
I feel like
not...
Zoltron is like referencing Big. Wasn't that Zoltar or something?
I thought it was Voltron.
Well, I figured it was Voltron, but there was also Zoltar in Big, and that's what the machine is.
Well,
so
anyway,
I don't know.
So Steven takes over this future telling machine. Gives good advice to a lot of these people,
I was waiting for the advice though to get way more like insane, just like time to pull the plug on that machine that's keeping your grandma alive. And
well, I like
your fortune is. The birth control didn't work. Congratulations? Question mark.
Well, I like just that's a question really for your doctor.
Yeah, that's the closest we got, and that made me laugh hardcore.
Yeah. But then this dude comes and is just super depressed. It turns out he used to be part of a comedy routine with Sinbad. I forget his real name, you know what I mean. Smiley, that's right, because it's Smiley and Frowny says, and now I'll remember that name.
Yeah.
Which is already
upside down.
Which is already a little funny that like I'm just immediately thinking like they have to be referencing Sinbad because I had a past in comedy and why don't you do comedy anymore? And so
that wasn't any good.
I was just like, I don't remember his stand-up being that bad.
I shouldn't say. Like, his movies,
I will say, it's probably dated by now. It doesn't hold up, but it's not like, that's awful.
He was good
really
in
that
Shazam. Like, I loved him in that movie. So.
I never made that confusion, by the way. I don't know where that started. I was like, that movie everyone thought existed but didn't? I'm like, no, because it didn't exist.
You want to know? Here's the funny thing about it. I did because somebody else was trying to tell me about the movie, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Well, I guess I guess this, like, yeah, I guess now that you're mentioning it, I remember it, but I never would have come up with it on my own. But somebody was talking about it as if it were a real movie. I'm like,
yeah, it's Kazam.
Yeah, Sinbad. Like, yeah, and I was just like, but yeah, I don't know.
But he goes, they meet up, and he says, no matter what, there's gonna be sadness, like, in your future, pretty much, which I kind of like. But he goes, and they still meet up, even though they know they're gonna be sad, and they somehow end up making each other feel better, which is like, wait a minute, that's still... Then they're not totally sad.
I see an empty bottle of scotch and a lot of missing painkillers next to your bed.
I thought that ending was a little bit of a cheat, but yeah, I guess you could argue enough that, maybe it's not. Because they still did have sadness in there. This next one is the last one out of Beach City. This is where Pearl wants to show she's a badass and go to like a concert and stuff like that.
I did. This one's a lark, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, it's...
The promise of lesbian action denied!
Well, I was saying, come on, in the last episode we got a fair amount of gay. I mean, granted, they never kissed or anything, but they were acting like an old couple, pretty much, like a couple who broke each other's hearts. I don't think that's where they're going with it, that's just how they act.
As a Pearl girl, honey, someday you're gonna find it.
But yeah, it didn't really go anywhere too much. You
don't find love, Pearl. Love finds you, hon.
just finds a woman that looks like Rose, follows her, and tries to break a few rules and stuff like that. And
I love this episode, and I'm also questioning, like, I don't know, occasionally you have those moments where I'm like, I guess I'm an adult, because now I have to think about just like, is that really healthy to show, like, the responsible role model, like, basically running away from the police? And
yeah, that's kind of
I'm
true.
like, well, I guess she's a crystal gem, but then I'm just like, my god, I just turned old.
Because I was almost thinking, like, oh, well, Pearl's gonna, like... No, it mainly made me...
I mean,
No,
really...
it made me question things, because I'm like, oh, I don't have a license, I can't explain that I'm from another planet and stuff. It's like, but wait, there's a ton of other times where you had to tell people you're from another planet, like, Steven's friends or Connie's parents and stuff.
Shouldn't she have just shot first and asked questions later?
So, I don't know, that one did raise a few questions.
That would have been amazing, like, Pearl just whips out a piece, all of a sudden it's like, and then just guns it.
I thought what was gonna happen is, like, she was going to still, like, whatever, go pay a fine, turn herself in or something at the end.
I thought it was gonna be Thelma and Louise. I thought,
let's keep going, Steven!
Pearl, this is insane!
And that was the series finale. That was unexpected. I was like, Lost, there's so many unanswered questions.
I think we just wrote the ending of the Steven universe. Somebody call Rebecca Sugar. Like,
yeah,
can we retcon this and have it end right there? That would be amazing.
The best ending since The Sopranos.
I would have sat there with my jaw on the ground and just gone, I respect that shit. It made no sense, but I respect that you had the balls to do it.
Just leave him hating us.
I liked it. Well, Pearl's like my favorite character, so I just liked her trying to be badass and like drinking the orange or the apple juice. Just like,
I didn't know you drank juice. There's a lot of things you don't know about me, Steven.
Drinking tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't go well at all. I said all these things, and then she just gave me some sort of code, and I was like, yeah.
All right, next one's our favorite episode, Onion Gang. This is where
next
Onion finds some friends in the woods and is like, oh, well, they're only summer friends. So Steven hangs out with them. They're still a little psychotic. They pretend to die and, like, come back, which is like, okay, playing. But then they're like, let's race the bugs. Great, now let's kill them. And no, not even let's kill them. Let's have Steven kill one. So they're kind of just as messed up as
and I think
Onion.
this is my problem.
And Onion fucking in a few episodes earlier has a crowbar and a mask. And it's like, no, I can't get behind this unpleasant character.
No, and this is my problem is that I think they're trying to go for the moral. Just like, no, embrace the weird. Everybody's different. Diversity, something, 21st century millennial. And I'm like,
the parents need to watch it more.
Yeah, that doesn't work when you're reaching serial killer levels. Like, I don't sit there and, like, it's like, we should embrace the weird. It's like, my friend likes to abuse cats. Well, you should just embrace the weird. Like, no.
No,
like,
I feel like there's
some point where it's just like, you've crossed from, oh, you're just quirky and weird and we shouldn't bully people, to, you may actually be a murderer and I'm not going to bully you. I'm just going to keep my distance.
Or maybe push you a little towards a therapist,
Yeah, or be like, you should get some help. But I don't know. There's something about Onion and his friends that rubs me the wrong way.
And I think of all that, because I usually love this type of character. Someone like from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or whatever, just these awful people. But they're kind of put in a place where
it's much more unsettling when they're small, childlike.
Yeah, no. Even then, I love that, because I think of like Addams Family and stuff like that. But
or Bob's Burgers, like Luis is obviously psychotic.
Or Archer, those are all terrible characters and stuff. But there's something about the world they inhabit.
Tone. Yeah, there's a different tone and environment. And whereas, like, a character like Luis on Bob's Burgers is one of my favorite characters ever. You put that same type of character just beyond bizarre and weird and, like, you may be psycho way in this, it doesn't work. Like, the universe they inhabit it just doesn't work in this universe. Like, weird works.
You know
but
what
there's a weird kind of mean-spirited, I don't know, there's something off.
It's mean-spirited, and the character, in my opinion, is not very well defined.
No, it's not
sort of look
defined.
happy and then kind of sad, and then he's doing this terrible stuff, and it's like, I can't get a grasp on what this character is about, and maybe that's what people find interesting about him. Oh, hush up, you phone. And maybe that's what people find interesting about him, but to me, honestly, I find it boring. They don't show the right stuff to make him interesting.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this is... We want to talk about Achilles' heels in the show, like your little kryptonite chinks in the armor or whatever. I think this is one of them, because when I think about all the human characters that are kind of jerks, none of them I enjoy watching. Like, you can make jerks in a show interesting to watch. I can't think of a single one.
Yeah, Ronaldo's annoying.
Ronaldo's annoying. Lars is annoying. Onion's annoying.
annoying.
The closest would be the mayor, played by Joel Hodgson. Like, that would be the closest.
And even then,
Now, the villains, the gem villains, are amazing to watch.
Yeah,
but
those are good.
any of the human characters that
we
are
get to a
just
good
jerks,
one later.
I think it's a problem. It's a legit problem with the show. I think, like, for some reason, the ball is always dropped with that type of character.
Yeah. And usual kind of character, I feel like those characters have gotten funnier over the years with, like, the Nelson Muntz and so on and so forth. Like, they've made funny bullies and
I can hear some people going,
but
that's the point. You're not supposed to like them. Oh my God.
No, but I feel like you can like them
you
and
have to be
enjoy,
interested in them.
You can enjoy not liking them. You know, Judge Claude Frollo, I hate that character. Oh, he's so terrible, but I love to hate him.
Oh, well, look at
all
fucking Joffrey on Game of Thrones. That's
that's one. I don't think I ever hated a character more than Joffrey.
But it was interesting to watch.
I got it. I'm like wow.
Almost to the point where it's like, I need to look away, but can't.
Yeah, that's like, I enjoy watching how awful he is, because it's like, I get it. I follow it.
None of those three characters have that quality. They are literally... They're like what you would call nuisance enemies in games, like, you know, the Medusa heads in Castlevania.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this is just a nuisance. It's just a nuisance to sit through them.
Like, it's like eating an actual onion.
Yeah, they don't add anything. It's just a nuisance.
Totally agree. All right, next we have Gem Harvest. This is 2 episodes put back to back that really could have been 1. I don't know why they made this 2. The first half is about a pumpkin dog, and then they abandoned that.
Or as I like to call it, a pupkin.
I'm shocked they didn't make that joke. And then you get the...
Remember when I said puns are the highest form of comedy? That wasn't one.
And then the landlord from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Carl! That was the best thing about this episode. I'm just like, oh my God, Carl is in this.
Turns out it's Greg's cousin and owns that barn and has... I guess I could just say it. Elements of, like, cliche Trump supporter written all over him, you know, kind of thing. And
I just kept wanting to say, like, and then, like, when they cut to them in the plane in a later episode, I just wanted to be like, and then when we finally get that wall built along the Mexican border, we'll keep all the Mexicans out, and then finally America will be great again. I ain't racist.
But
I just tell it like it is.
So it's like, on the one hand, I love that he's the voice actor for that.
Yeah.
Because anything that guy says, it's kind of like John Benjamin. Anything he says.
I just wanted to just.
Yes, one of those great
He just
voices.
shows up at the barn, and I just wanted him to be like, man, I left the milkshake and the meatball and the fries for this. I want to get away from this craziness.
but
it's great.
But it's the typical, even if you take whatever Trump supporter or whatever out of it, it's this guy that comes in, doesn't like these new people that are here and their culture and their ways and stuff, and there's a culture clash, and he tries but doesn't want to be a part of it.
Magically, it all works out and somehow doesn't turn into a normal family Thanksgiving where you just all shout things at each other and then somebody goes on a racist diatribe. And
that's what kind of bothered me about this episode.
It's unrealistic as fuck.
I don't mind. Well, first of all, as soon as
it's
it
like
starts,
trying to make a statement, but it's just such an easy wrap up. I'm like,
No, and obviously,
no, in no universe do I see this.
No. Here's the thing, too. Even if it's something that is relevant, as soon as the episode starts, you're immediately like, okay, there's one of 2 directions it can go. They're either gonna make up at the end, or he's not going to compromise, and maybe in the future they will. Or maybe they'll find that little silver lining or something. And I just feel like, okay, that's going to be the ending. Why am I waiting through 2 episodes to get to this? Even if it is, like I said, kind of relevant, especially today. I mean, America's very, very divided. But it's one of those things where I just feel like, okay, it's going to be one of 2 things.
It just felt false. I'm sorry. Like, when you try to take something that complex and wrap it up like that quickly, it's like some things you may be able to do. I just didn't buy it for a second. I'm like, no. Like, all of a sudden, it's just like, and then I turned Fox News off, saw Jesus, and had an epiphany, and now I love everything and everything. Like,
yeah, it's like
when, where, what?
It's
like
it's like if suddenly in To Kill a Mockingbird they decide not to press charges out of nowhere. You know what? That speech was so good. I'm not going to press charges.
You get people, you get those families where like either side is on different fringes, like. Anybody have a Thanksgiving where that magically worked out and it turns out that you just made peace at the end and you all decided that it was about love and understanding? Or did, like, half of you just get completely shit-faced drunk and all you remember was a shouting match by the end of it? I'm willing to bet it's more likely the later.
Yeah, or at the very best, it's like a slight compromise.
Yeah, the compromise being we're just gonna stare at each other in stone cold silence and talk about nothing in particular because, by God, if somebody mentions, hey, guess what I saw on Fox News or MSNBC, shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, just this, I don't know, this bothered me.
Even taking politics out of it, I mean, which I feel like...
Which is impossible because it's very obvious what they're doing.
but even if you were...
Right down to the point, it's like, I don't like change. Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's like just
old white guy who doesn't like change. Who'd have thought?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, this is... But even if you were, you're just to say, okay, these two have very different... These are two very different cultures that have been living two very different ways. A guy that's been away for years and years suddenly coming back, and within one day, this is not going to change.
And I'm not saying that they should have done this necessarily because we're already got enough filler already in this season, but... You would have needed 5 episodes of him coming back and slowly... You would have needed to parodot this shit to get to the point where I'd be able to believe that. But one magical night...
Well,
like,
no. This is because we probably gone on about this one enough, but the one last thing I'll say about it is that in the show Roseanne, which I think handles stuff like this very well, actually.
Oh, that shit was amazing.
Yeah, no, but one of the things that doesn't even really connect, this is just a family difference. One of the daughters goes off, gets married without telling him or anything, is pretty much moving out, and really drives a huge... just split between her and the father.
Another daughter went off to college, came back, and was a completely different person.
Yeah, no, well, it's the same daughter, technically.
Oh, is that Becky's storyline?
Okay. But like, so she's gonna leave, and she's gonna go live with her husband, and the father, John Gilman, I mean, just doesn't talk to her, does the silent treatment. When she's leaving, he doesn't say goodbye, and she's gone for a long time, and it's like, holy shit, this is for episodes and episodes, he's just not even talking to her, acknowledging she exists. And this is one of your likable main characters doing this. And it's one of those things where it's like they took the time to really try and do it as real as possible.
I mean, this is a different show where they had a history of it's just sitcom-y, it's resolved easily, but... This show has managed to kind of try to take complicated issues and stretch them out and take their time with some of them.
But even Roseanne kind of did that too, and I felt like that.
No. I'm saying like that's my problem with like if Steven Universe like was one where it's just like there's a history of just not really giving a fuck and that. But there isn't. It's actually set the bar pretty high for itself. So I don't know. It felt like a cheap shot, and I'm not just saying it felt like a cheap shot on everybody.
Yeah, no,
like all of us.
Whatever differences you have,
it's just a cheap shot on all of us.
Whatever differences you have, I mean, whatever, it's gonna take time. And I do feel like a kid watching that, being like, oh, okay, well, this can be wrapped up in a day. I mean, it's not a good mindset.
You know what it is? It's the Full House moment.
Yeah.
It's like, and then Michelle says something funny, and then they whip out the sad guitar music, and then Danny sums everything up in some sort of moral, and the end. Like, it just...
Boy, did you segue perfect into the next one with 3 gems and a baby. I just don't like baby stories. I'm sorry. And this is fine, but it's like... Anytime I see there's a baby in an episode or a movie or anything, I'm just like, shit.
Literally, that's probably what we're gonna be seeing because it's a baby.
Yeah. And this isn't even done that bad, but again, it's sort of trailing that territory of the gems getting used to Steven being Rose, who is now a baby, now a child, now a boy.
But I feel like we've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's not that it's a god awful episode, but it's just like. What was new that was added here that we didn't know already? Nothing, really.
I guess the idea of just them coming to grips with that it's Steven and not Rose, but it's like, again, we could kind of couldn't we put that together? Didn't we just sort of connect the dots that this happened between everything else?
There is an element as the longer this goes on, I'm like losing a little bit of patience with some of the fillery ones. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Which I feel bad, but yeah, it is one of those things. Because they're not bad. They're not really that badly done, but it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, or, you know, even the messages aren't that bad, but it's like, yeah, I just sort of feel like this show is so good and so talented that when we do kind of get these fillers that are not that great, it's kind of like, man, couldn't we get to, you know, like the next episode, Steven's Dream? Man, these are just great segues. This is where we finally kind of get back into the big plot, and you know, it's funny, I was just realizing, because sometimes we say, we're getting tired of the big plots, let's do 1 or 2 light episodes, we're getting tired of the light episodes, let's go back to, and they usually have a pretty
There's been a pretty good balance. This is the first time in a while where I'm just like, okay,
a little bit of a
way
drought.
too many filler episodes.
Yeah.
This one, like, literally, near the end, I just turned to you and I was like, oh my god, shit just happened.
Like, I care again.
I care. I give a crap. Like, I just really, and as fun as the Wile E. Coyote episode was, like, I didn't really give a crap, because it was just, like, a chasing. There weren't any big stakes.
No.
Like, you could still do a slapstick episode and have stakes involved. There were no stakes, really. So, but this is the first time I'm like, whoa! Like, I am completely invested again. Wish this had happened earlier, but you know what? I'll take it now.
And from what we see, because we only saw one other episode after this, like, apparently, like, the next 5 or 6 after the ones we saw is this continuing story.
My favorite was Garnet just, Steven, I can't tell you why you can't go there. Well, why not? Because if I do tell you, you'll only want to go there more. And I literally was just like, then why would you say it? And she literally finished the sentence with, I shouldn't have said that.
Now you just want to go even more.
I'm like, why would you say that out loud then?
This was pretty cool, and
this episode was awesome. Like, I was like, the best so far out of the set we've seen, even better than the next one.
We were introduced to Blue Diamond already, but this time you get to see. I love the way this character is designed, because whether or not she's hidden, the outline of her in the cloak is already so strange.
It's creepy,
and so
looking.
Odd, and so that's already creepy. But then when she turns and talks, and you see her as sort of like this stretched Tim Burton character. With the tears coming out and stuff. I'm
the
like,
character design on
man, all right, so she looks great even without the cloak, and then the fact that her voice doesn't change. She's this terrifying character, but she just whispers this very deep
whisper monotone, and then her size. Like, I didn't really like it was seeing her next to the Pink Diamond's tomb or whatever, like. The size of her was legitimately creepy kneeling there, and when she comes up to Greg, and she's just so huge, I'm like, yeah, there's something even for a cartoon. Like, this thing's kind of terrifying. Like, it's just this big looming shadow. And the way that whole scene was so creepy with the way she talked about her. This was your planet, wasn't it? I'm like, it just had this creepy funeral-like atmosphere.
It's a wonderful mix.
Yeah, like, it was just making me really uncomfortable watching it, like, in a good way.
It's a wonderful mix of contradictions that we're not used to. It's a giant woman that at first has a shape you can't make out. Then when you see it, it's sort of like this very stretched out, long, but very sad face, but still says very menacing things, but also misses somebody very close to her. She's crying, she's very sad, but she's also taking, what used to be a pretty big guy, and now, can fit in her hand. And it was another kind of all these contradictions that just so don't match in just the right ways, where it's just uncomfortable, and it's wonderful.
There was a creepy, like, element, too, with the way that her sadness and depression was so profound, it would make Steven cry. Steven was seeing through her eyes. There was something kind of horror movie about that, like Ghost Story. Like I don't know,
creepy. It's legitimately
it was
creepy.
A good episode. Everything about it, I'm just like, yeah, this is just unnerving.
You got the good build up to it as well, with them not wanting to say what it is. It comes back again to what did Rose do, with the
you
killing
feel like
of
you
Pink
feel
Diamond.
like it's a tomb, like it's a graveyard. Just everything about this episode
feels like a ghost,
creepy,
like a ghost that can kill you.
Outside of breaking the fourth wall in the middle with the South Korean animators, like that
was great.
That was great, but like that was the one moment of brief. There was no levity in this.
Yeah,
like none. That was like their one moment, just ha ha ha, funny joke, because we're about really ready to get shit real.
Yeah.
I was joking though, like before I realized that they had done that was going to be the big secret. Just like, no, Steven, you can't go there. You can't see what's there. And when he goes there, he sees all the Korean animators doing Steven Universe and realizes he's a fictional character.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's all a lie.
But
I thought that was a great in joke.
Yeah, even the animator, I mean, I don't think it was meant to be her, but you only see her from the back. Looks a little bit like Rebecca Sugar, a little bit.
What does she look like?
You know what? Maybe not. I think she has shorter hair. So
I was going to say, I thought that
glasses
animator looked Korean. Like, that was a joke.
No, you don't see the front of her. But yeah, from the back, so the longer black hair. It's like, yeah, it could be. That I forgot she has, Rebecca Sugar has shorter hair. But, yeah, and even that probably wouldn't make sense. I mean, it's like, yeah. I
do love, like, there's something... It's so endearing and also completely fucking horrifying the way she's just like, your planet's going to be completely destroyed by this massive superweapon. But you, I like you. I'll keep you as the last part of her legacy. Like, I'm like, well, that's endearing, but also genocidal. Like,
yeah, no, it's all these great opposite extremes
even
kind of coming
Hitler
together.
loved his dog.
Yeah, no, it's just, and it's so creepy and unnerving, and I'm just... that got me excited again to see more episodes. Because before, again, like you were saying, it's like these aren't terrible or bad or anything, but it's just kind of a grind.
I mean, I know
and that got me excited.
I know it's a little different when we have to watch these all in a row. Like, particularly when you get up to 12, we used to do them 5 at a time. But yeah, I was just hitting like a breaking point. Where I'm like, seriously, will something fucking happen already?
Yeah, I feel like I'm wondering if I would like these episodes more if there were a few more of like the serious ones dropped in there. I still think I would have kind of the issues I did with them, but I'd be a little kinder to them possibly. Which brings us to the last one, Adventures in Light Distortion. This has one of the best returning jokes ever, where they're going through space and there are the rubies crashing into the window.
All I'm gonna say is shit was lost. I lost my, like, I have never laughed so loud than when that happened. Like, just amazing. Like, brilliant callback to an earlier joke.
Well, especially, it's not even a joke. It was such a serious episode. I mean,
yeah, too.
Yeah, really brilliant episode, honestly. Then just to have that be a dumbbell joke.
I still feel so bad for that character. I'm like just wandering aimlessly in space.
Well, then the others are there too, like Shirley behind.
Yeah, so, it just, God. But yeah, no, that was brilliant. I'd say for this, it's just about getting.
Yeah,
from point
it's
A
a little
to
bit more
point
of
B. It was a kind of giant ludicrous speed joke.
Yeah, just a build up to the next one. I am wondering though when you do.
I did like it gave you an insight into what's driving Steven at the moment, which is his father. So he's like,
and
have to do it and looking to
Garnet is just so determined. It's like, we're gonna get him back. I mean, she is like super
I love
determined.
how epic moments sometimes are just destroyed by the simplest things. Like, we're going to space. We're going to get ton Greg.
Well, that was like, he was like, I'm sorry I didn't listen. I'm sorry I went to Korea. And it's like, that just sounded funny.
I shouldn't have enlisted in the military. The things I saw, it was like MASH, man.
I am wondering, though, if you were to have, like, the old school 3D glasses, like the red and blue 3D glasses, would that work when he's traveling at that speed?
Because it kind of going on.
It looked like it, but I don't know.
Was it a very special 3D episode? Because I don't have cartoon.
No, I don't think so. I think they would just do that just for.
I don't have cable anymore.
They would do that kind of just for fun. Like, hey, if you have one like somewhere, locked away or something. I have no idea. It could be just it looks like that. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's just a getting there episode, but it's not done bad.
It was fine. Now that there's purpose, I'm willing to put up with a little of that because I'm like, okay, well at least we're going somewhere.
Yeah.
I can only just I feel like just filler episodes just are better interspersed. And I just feel like there just was this cluster from the start.
So 2 at the most 3 at a time.
So how many did we watch? 12?
Yeah.
So we went like 10 episodes with a lot of filler. And I'm like, that is too much.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay with some filler episodes because I've enjoyed some of the ones in the past.
Yeah, a lot of them are great and they're done well,
Yeah, but this round, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, because like I said, I didn't read the plots or anything, but I was just sort of seeing, I'm like, okay, well, are more like this in the future? I just saw diamond, blue diamond, pink diamond, yellow diamond, and like in the next 5 or 6 episodes, I'm like, okay, obviously this is going to be the big shit's getting
blue
real.
diamond, pink diamond, purple horseshoes, green clovers, and red balloons.
This is probably going to be like this, what they call the Steven bombs, where they jump like.
Oh, and don't forget rainbows. This show's fucking full of rainbows. I can tell you that.
So, yes, sort of first half of the season got. Oh, I mean, not awful, just a slow, dry start, but it looks like it's getting really good again. And yeah, I'm kind of with you, just like, I think I can take the filler episodes more if they're just dispersed in smaller chunks, but just having, 10 in a row is really tough. I
will be fair. You know, it is weird doing this so after the fact. And in these kind of like, it's so funny because occasionally I will just get like these messages from people just like, oh my god, the latest Steven Universe, everything changes, everything. And I have no idea if I've encountered that episode or not. Like, there's so many times where I've gotten like messages like that.
We couldn't have. Like,
I don't know, but that's the thing. I get these.
No, because I got them too, and I'm thinking like we couldn't have come across them yet because I get them all the time.
I'm hoping
too.
not, because I feel like I wanted to be more sure, but. I feel every time I get this, it's, oh my god, Steven Universe! And I'm just like, I'm like, which episode was it? Like, I don't know now.
Yeah,
like,
I'm assuming
I don't really want to know, because I don't want spoilers and shit. I would get messages like that, and I'm just like, I don't even finish them, because I'm like, because I swear to god, if you fucking spoil this for me.
It has to be in the next chunk in the second half of the season. There's so many episodes.
I guess, but it is weird, because it's like so late that I'm like, Did we see it? Was it when his dad was abducted? Was it Pearl hitting on the like concert chick? Was it like?
Yeah, no,
that is funny.
I got a feeling it's
you know what? It is funny, like how. Yeah, like I watch an episode like that. It's like I don't give a shit. Like about the kind of like I just look at it. I was like, oh, it's like somebody like flirting, and like I just. Why? Like I don't get. What the fuck is the big deal? Like,
was that one of the big deals?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I feel like, well, there was all this talk earlier on, because it has that kind of quality to it. But I just look at that, I'm like, okay, she's openly flirting, got her number, and I'm like, I'm completely okay with that. I'm just like, who gives a shit? Like,
I didn't know if it was being talked about or not.
I have no idea, but I
know the Garnet fusion was a big deal, because I thought that was a legitimately good twist, because it's like, oh, this actually was a fusion the whole time. They're both really tiny, so she equals out a slightly taller human being. I thought that was really like, clever.
I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just me, because I try not to involve myself in the internet culture wars, because it's work. It's so much fucking work.
Well, it's not fun.
And it's not fun. But I don't know. I watch what I like, and I see a scene like that, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, she's looking to put herself out there again, and she may have met somebody. And I'm like, it doesn't even occur to me, like, that it was like, oh my god, this is controversial, because, like, that's technically lesbianism. It's like, well, technically, my favorite is the people are like, well, technically, she's a gem, so therefore, I'm like, oh, bullshit.
Yeah, why are you calling her a she?
I'm like, okay, yeah. Sure, like that's if
I just didn't know, was that
if you desperately
were people
need
telling
that
you
out.
like, ooh, she's dating again, it's like a big deal, or
I think somebody mentioned it. No, it's just more because of the controversy with some of the earlier stuff in the previous seasons, and I'm just like, and here this scene comes, I'm just like, great, cool, like and I guess maybe too with the whole Korosami thing. Like, and what a big deal that was for either side of the fence. Oh my god!
Yeah,
I have to boycott Nickelodeon because this is two women.
Or the
seem like they would love it.
Or the a romance as grand as time. It's like,
and it was neither of those things.
Yeah. Can you believe it? I'm like, no, I really can't. I sort of thought they would end on a note that connected more to the story and series.
So
and
here
like
is this, and I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Like, it started to fade in, like, just as I was watching it slowly, that I'm like, yeah, if you told me I would be seeing this kind of thing, like, 20 years ago on, like, Cartoon Network or on something meant for kids, I would have been like, pfft. I mean, back in the days, it was like, don't ask, don't tell. Like, and here it is, and I'm sure there's some sad, poor bastards out there going, that's why America sucks now! But, fuck it, I don't care. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool. Like, and it's I like those stories because, like, you remember we talked about The Haunting and the remake where it's all just about, like, I'm a lesbian. Did I mention I'm lesbian? Can I advertise anymore? I'm lesbian. And it's just like, here, like, these are just two people, like, trying to go out or, like, ask each other out. And I'm like, it's so simple. Like, people overly complicate things.
I mean, with any of this stuff, I mean, the thing that I always think is, like, you know, just the options and the opportunities. And what I like about this show is that there's so many different setups for, you know, different fusions, different creatures, different, you know, relationships, you know, there's so many different relationships. I mean, you had a woman that transforms into a little boy, you know, so it's sort of all these variations, and to me, that's the cool stuff, not, ooh, this was done. Well, it's great that it was done, but what did you do with it?
It's,
you know, or what interesting way did you show it or display
like,
it?
so much of it is organically part of the plot. It's
exactly.
They are as characters. It doesn't feel
I don't care if you're the first one to do it. Did you do it well? And did you do it interesting? And did you do it in a way where even if this is done a million times after, is it still interesting?
So many times I see things and they just feel just shoehorned in. Like, it's like, we need a gay character. And it's just like, does this story need a gay character? I mean, it could go one way or the other. It's like, okay, so what is the character with the lives, dreams, motivation? Like, how's it fit into the plot? Gay character.
Yeah, like
hate
any
that.
kind of token.
Yeah, I hate that. Like, that tokens, and there's nothing token about her. It's like, she's an interesting character.
Yeah, they're all pretty interesting, with the exception of the jerky characters, like we said.
Yeah, the only
the token jerks are the only ones you can't get into.
Work on your jerks more, Rebecca. Yeah. Maybe she's just so nice that it's not in her,
Could be, yeah. Just watch some British comedies. They made some wonderful jerks.
Maybe she's like, but I don't want to be mean.
Just watch some Black Adder, Faulty Towers, Red Dwarf, Black Books. Just watch all these great British comedies.
Bernard Black. I'd kill for a character like that.
Yeah. So, that's about it. The next time we go through a large chunk, it'll be the second half of the season, and we'll probably wait for 12 episodes of the season after that, because they seem to be like 25.
These are good, but man, 12 in a row is exhausting.
Yeah. So, cool. We shall see you guys later. Bye.
Namaste.